You also tried intermittent fasting and it worked really, really well for you. Like within 2.5 months, you had lost a substantial amount of weight, like 18 kgs in 2.5 months. That's amazing, you know. And when I was talking to you, I was like, listen, intermittent fasting is not for everyone. It is not for the faint-hearted. But let's just go back to your story. When did you experience a turnaround? When first of all did you realize that, you know what, this is not my ideal weight, I need to do something about it?
Okay, that was back in 2019. I gained, I moved, I always grew up being a small girl. So I gained about 20 or 25 so kilograms in a span of 3 years. And I couldn't understand what was happening. So hapa kule, I came to realize that I had PCOS, and it was a factor of my weight gain throughout the whole period. So the doctor advised me, you need to lose weight. So I took into IF. I went into intermittent fasting. I did up to 72 hours of fasting.
Wow.
And I was able to lose about 18 kilograms. And yeah, it is not for the faint-hearted.
Yeah.
I lost the weight, maintained the weight for about 7 months. And then I got ill again, and I had to gain back some weight. But I can tell you, intermittent fasting, yes, it works, but you have to maintain a clean diet. You have to exercise, and you have to basically live a healthy life throughout when you are done with it.
Yeah.
But I think we need to consult a doctor first before you get into intermittent fasting, because bodies are different. And you might end up doing more harm to your body than doing more good to your body. So this is an advice: before anyone gets into intermittent fasting, seek medical advice first. Let your doctor diagnose you and say if your body is fit to undergo intermittent fasting, because we go to extreme ends sometimes for us to lose it.
All right. And I like what, I mean, both of you look amazing. Amina, you look amazing. Salome, you look amazing. And I like the fact that both of you are actually pointing out something that is very, very important, because a lot of people struggle with the same. Probably some have underlying conditions and they do not know. And they end up, let's say, gaining weight or losing weight without necessarily knowing what is happening. And Japhet, this is where I bring you in terms of, we put so much pressure on ourselves sometimes as, you know, people, that I'm gaining so much weight. Maybe it's because of what I'm eating. Maybe it's because I'm not doing this. Maybe I'm not exercising enough. But really, sometimes maybe there's something, you know, within us that we don't know. Maybe like medical conditions that we don't know. So when it comes to that aspect of then weight gain, and that is unintentional weight gain, what are some of the factors that might add to the same?
Thank you, Winnie. I think listening from both Amina and Salome, you get to notice that weight is not just a matter of food.
Yes.
It's not about just look at someone and say, oh, they're overeating, they don't know how to be generous with food, all kind of stuff. You realize there are some underlying conditions, like Hashimoto for Amina, and PCOS for Salome.
Yes.
You know, some of these things are caused by our lifestyle. And sometimes, as I had mentioned earlier, being healthy is not just that you don't have the disease.
Okay.
It's a state of well-being. So sometimes we may need diagnosis, medical advice, medical consultation to discover that sometimes you have underlying issues.
Yeah.
Because we also have people who are suffering from weight because it's genetic, it's hereditary, it's in the family line. Sometimes it's underlying conditions like Hashimoto, like we had for Amina. So it's not just not about food. So it's a whole range of matters. That is why we need expert opinion and expert advice, especially when you notice you have unintentional weight gain. And sometimes you're not eating too much to notice the weight gain, but it's continuing to rise and rise. Like for Hashimoto's case, for Amina, it's the autoimmune disease causes the body to have hyperthyroidism. Hyperthyroidism is when we have less production of the thyroid. So the body has low function and causes the person to develop weight gain without them noticing. So they notice that they have the boom but they ain't eating, but there is the weight gain.
Is it drastic, the weight gain, or it's just gradual?
Like for her case,
Yes.
and many other conditions, with her condition, it happens gradually, and you may not notice.
You might not notice it.
Yes.
Yes.
Because because of the Hashimoto condition, for example, the body slows down processes and metabolism. So you store up fat, you store up calories. You don't break down as much calorie as expected.
Yes.
So the body stores up and stores up. Then you notice that you're big, you're booming, and then start developing more conditions.
Yeah.
And then, sadly enough, once the weight starts booming, and then it starts bringing out other conditions, like you had for Salome when she was developing PCOS because of the weight. So sometimes it affects, brings fertility issues because of the excess weight gain. Then you go to delivery, makes the child predisposed to certain conditions.
Yeah.
Like we have babies born with diabetes, gestational diabetes.
Yes.
Or sometimes the mother goes for delivery and then they have excess blood pressure, what we call preeclampsia and eclampsia, because of the pre-existing weight. So weight in itself is a disease, sorry to say.
Yeah.
And that is why we're having this discussion this morning, that
Yeah.
people get the awareness that it's not just about fitting into a nice dress or getting into a nice jacket, the way I'm looking this morning, but it's sorry, but
right.
it's more of health issue. It's a health concern.
Yes.
So that as I grow big, am I still within the BMI that's talked
range,
about?
yes.
The range of a normal, healthy human being. So that it doesn't end up again that the weight or the physical appearance that I had now leads me to having some other, medical conditions.
Yeah.
Like-
And more emphasis is usually put on weight gain, right? But then again, there's also something else that we talked about, and that is underweight, where someone is like, listen, I am doing everything right, but still I am not gaining weight. If anything, my weight continues to drop. So most of the time, what could this be? Because again, this might, I want to assume, of course, would bring about other health issues.
True.
Yeah.
Thank you, Winnie. The focus mostly on weight has been on the other side of the scale.
Yes.
But we forget that the silent minority on the other side of the scale, they are struggling to add weight.
Yeah.
They're struggling to catch up with the optimum weight. They are underweight. And going on the other side of the scale, sometimes you develop issues like mild acute malnutrition and severe acute malnutrition.
Okay.
Mild and severe acute malnutrition, sometimes it's evident in particular areas of our country.
All right.
Where you see very tiny babies or very tiny individuals. But you see, once somebody has low weight, it affects your what we call the immunity.
Yes.
Weight and immunity goes hand in hand. It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
When you have low weight, you have low immunity. But again, when you have excess weight, it predisposes you to other diseases and infections.
And that affects your immunity
And
as well.
it affects immunity as well. Because
All right.
once you're diabetic, you start getting other conditions. While you start having high blood pressure, it brings other conditions. So weight is and immunity is a vicious cycle. It's on the other side, you get low immunity, then you sudden this becomes a sickly child. Children who have low birth weight and also grow up with small weight, they're always predisposed to infections like pneumonia, diarrhea, because of the weight.
Yes.
Meaning the immunity is low. So that is why we are focused on the optimum weight.
Yes.
So that you are within the normal range, so that your immunity is at par, your body is strong enough to fight infections, your body is strong enough to fight diseases. Like right now in the pandemic, the global pandemic. And you see, part of the at-risk groups as these people who have pre-existing conditions, like the diabetes and the hypertension and such kind of things. Other dangerous and at-risk thing is the underweight, because once you're underweight, it means you have low immunity.
Yeah, and
so
you're predisposed.
And you're predisposed. You walk in matatus in town. You walk around people's knees. You catch flu.
Yeah.
Next time you COVID, it was like,
Yeah.
God forbid.
Yeah.
But that is why we have the focus on healthy eating.